Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today we are looking at the Z. The We're looking at the 109Z armored cargo hover. This is a hovercraft built by the Aratech Repulsor Company during the most intense part of the Galactic Civil War. It was made for the Galactic Empire, which used it as a transport in areas hazardous to normal repulsor craft. Now, characteristics wise, riding on a cushion of air generated by lift engines and contained within a flexible skirt, the Z1, or I don't know why I want to put the Z first, but the 109Z could operate in environments where a repulsor craft could not, though it was no more or nowhere near as far as fast or as maneuverable. In appearance, it resembled the bulkier, bigger version of the 101C hovercraft. Though it was less refined in design and missing the 101C's turret, instead, it was equipped with a single forward firing laser cannon controlled by the craft's pilot with a maximum range of 200 meters. Originally, the 109Z was unarmed, dedicated to carrying a large number of personnel and 4 metric tons of supplies within its armored hull. However, the Empire refused to buy an armored cargo transport without any weapons. So, Arth Tech was forced to strap one on just to meet the requirements. Despite this, the 109Z's weaponry was considered all but useless in a fight, since more than likely it would be running away from the enemy and so leave them without any cannons in that firing arc. The 109Zs, which were expected to run into trouble, were instead escorted by a combat capable hovercraft or a modified land speeder. Now, this comes to us from Groth, Slave of the Empire, which was a West End Games kind of module campaign. So, with that being said, we don't have a lot of extra pictures here. We do have one picture that we kind of get to see here just briefly. Hoping to bring it up so hopefully you guys can see this. But it's not, I mean, it gives us a pretty decent picture of it, but all in all, it's not like some of the other great pictures that we get to see of some of these craft because we've got digital images and everything else of these things, but just kind of going from there. Now we do have a little bit of a loadout here, showing that this is a hovercraft costing roughly about 47,000 credits. um, has a length of 12 meters, maximum speed of 120 kilometers per hour. Maximum altitude is 1 meter, has one laser cannon. The crew wise, we have a pilot and a co pilot. 12 passengers are available and 4 metric tons of cargo. With that being said, let's get into the actual stats that we have listed in the book and see if there's any differences between that and what we have listed here. Not thinking that we're going to have much of a difference, but let's just take a look. All right, so looking at our stats here, the 109Z armored hover or cargo hover is a heavy hover vehicle, speeder scale. Again, same 12-meter length, has a crew of two, one can't coordinate. Passengers are 12, cargo is 12 or 4 metric tons, all the same that we were looking at before. We do have a full cover here. Altitude is ground level plus about 1 meter. Cost is still the same as what was listed before, 47,000 credits. Maneuverability is a 1D, so not the most maneuverable, but not the worst. Has a speed of 120 kilometers an hour, same thing that we had seen before. Body strength here is a 2D plus 2. So keep in mind, 2D is our galactic standard. If you look at a TIE fighter at Starfighter scale is at 2D. So it's, you know, speeder scale wise, it is doing a little bit better than what a TIE fighter would have been. Weapons are that one single laser cannon, forward facing, pilot and or co-pilot. Typically, the co-pilot would be shooting it, but pilot can coordinate it. Surprisingly enough, we do not have a negative for a single pilot doing all the controls. Let's see. Do have a damage of a 4D. So, with that being kind of said, that's really what we have for our stats here. It's a simple vehicle. You know, sometimes the best things are really just more simplified vehicles. And of course, the picture that we have here looks like um, probably something that we would have seen in a cargo bay, probably meant for the characters themselves to kind of take control of. Looking at it, um, it looks like we have a person standing right behind the cockpit or so, or maybe in an upper hatch. Looks like there must be a seat in the transparent steel um, cockpit canopy there. And of course, we can see across from that is our forward facing cannon. And in the foreground of all that, it looks like some sort of escort vehicle with a turret on there. That's probably the 101C medium military hover transport, um, which is just the other vehicle. And we'll get into that some other point. But, having a small vehicle to kind of maneuver people around is always kind of nice. I mean, we can always have our characters start off on the ground just dealing with a planetary issue before we start getting out into the stars and dealing with grander schemes and issues and adventures from there. Always kind of starting off small, getting our feet wet, getting into other things. Quite often, I would always end up having my group start off in the stars. And I know my best friend had made a comment a couple times with his characters being more specialized for space combat. If we ever got into, hand to hand or, ground combat of any sort, he'd be hiding behind anyone else because he's just not set up for it. But that is a beautiful thing for the D6 system. You can always get a character, instead of just railroading them into just one specific thing, you can broaden their horizon so they're kind of a jack of all trades. Now, yes, it does mean it takes a lot longer to get them to any decency because quite often a jack of all trade is a master of none, but there is that possibility. And that is one of the big things I do really enjoy about having the D6 universe, the fact that you're not restricted to just a certain class. So, with that being said, thank you so very much for joining me today. It's always wonderful having you here. I hope you're doing well, and I will see you in the next video.